Hi everybody, Simone Milasas here on the Art and Industry of Business and Living. And this month, the month of September, we're doing a series of shows for Suicide Awareness Day. We're making it Suicide Awareness Month. One of the websites that I would love for you to have a look at is accessconsciousness.com/suicide awareness. There you can find out a whole lot of details of different things that we have available for you if you'd like to know more about this, because suicide doesn't have to be a reality. There is always greater possibilities available for you.
The Art and Industry of Business and Living podcast, discussing conscious choices around business, money, life and living, and creating a greater future for you and the planet.
Hi everybody, welcome to the Art and Industry of Business and Living. You're with Simone Milasas and I am in beautiful Costa Rica. And I have a good friend of mine here who's been on my show quite a few times. Welcome, Mr. Christopher Hughes.
Thank you. It's an honor as always.
So, a bit of a different topic this month. We're doing 4 different topics on suicide because it's actually Suicide Awareness Month, and I wanted to interview different people who have been in different situations in regards to suicide. So I know last week we had Anthony Mattis and his wife actually committed suicide. Brilliant show. Amazing to see the aspects of how he was with his kids and how he was willing to deal with it and keep going on, yet be totally vulnerable with it. Sucked, and how, so much stuff came up for him, but how he dealt with it, how he kept moving on, and he's actually remarried now, and his kids are friggin' phenomenal. So it's a brilliant show. If you haven't seen it, please see it, because you don't need to be alone. I'm interviewing people who have been surrounded by some form of suicide. So with Christopher Hughes here, his sister committed suicide how long ago?
Oh, that is a good question. I would say it was probably about 10 years ago now.
Right. And for the audience, can you tell us how she committed suicide?
Yes. My sister, for all of her life, was not the happiest of people. And for her, it seemed to be somewhat sexuality related most of her life, as she had come out when I was young as a lesbian, and then later came out as transgendered, and that she actually felt she was in the wrong gendered body and wanted to become a man. And that seemed to trouble her for a great deal of her life. And so she tried getting counseling and therapy and just to sort of become okay with it, but never really did. And so, unbeknownst to us, she'd been planning quite a while. And one day, the day before she was meant to be evicted from her apartment, she barricaded her inside of it, lay down on her bed, and lit the place on fire.
Quite dramatic.
Yes, it was extraordinarily dramatic. She went out in a blaze of glory, you might say. And it was, I guess the energy of it for me was there was such a big fuck you in it from her to everybody else. And finally, you'll take me seriously. Finally, you'll pay attention to me. Because it was obvious that she'd considered it quite strongly for quite a while. It was
premeditated.
Yeah, very premeditated. And it was, I remember it so clearly because it was the day that I was about to start a run of a musical in Korea for 2 months. And it was the weirdest thing, getting that call to hear that this had occurred and then have to go on stage and sing and dance and smile.
Right.
In front of all these
life
people.
Life goes on.
Yeah, life goes on and the show must go on and all that stuff. But, for me, that's what was going on in my life. In my mother, it was the day she was moving. And in my aunt, who was also very close to my sister, it was the day that she was about to go on a holiday on their new boat. And, it seems really selfish to go, oh, look what it was in my life. But I know in life that everything is a choice and nothing occurs or just happens coincidentally. For her in her world somewhere, there was this, as I say, a huge fuck you. I'm going to stop all of your plans and everything and make you stop and make your life all about me for this short moment.
So did she ever reach out for help prior to that, Chris, that you know of?
Yes, to a certain extent. And I was always really close with my sister, probably closer than anybody. We used to write each other a lot of letters back before email and things like that, which is funny because I managed to pull them out of the burning ashes of her apartment. And I still have them.
Wow.
Along with a book that I'd bought her. It was a photographic essay of women transitioning into men through surgery and steroids. And I bought her this book because I was always the one in our family that was really okay with whatever she chose around sex and sexuality. And sort of like whenever she wanted to go and tell anyone in our family about wanting to have a sex change operation or gender reassignment, I guess is the more politically correct term, I paid for it. I was the one to go, great. And she was like, oh, well, can you go tell them first and then I'll arrive? And I said, no, you're doing this and I'll arrive 2 days later or the day after and I'll be there for you. But I want you to be able to do this yourself.
To claim it. Yeah. Because as you're talking, the theme that I get is she thought she was wrong.
She did. Well, that experience with my sister actually led me to look into suicide a lot more and try to understand it. And it so often is just around self-judgment and places where you think you're wrong. And what I actually discovered is 60% of all suicide is actually sexuality related, of people thinking that the choices they make around who they want to have sex with or how is wrong.
So when you say sexually related too, is that mainly with, gay, lesbian or...
Yeah. Well, the biggest group is young men.
Right.
More than anybody, straight or gay, young men are killing themselves more than anybody.
Why do you think that is?
No one teaches you how to be a man in this world, but just like being a woman, there are so many projections and expectations and judgments about who you're supposed to be and how you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do to be a man. And one thing that you're absolutely not supposed to have or be allowed to have as a man is vulnerable.
Right.
And to be vulnerable is to receive everything without a point of view.
And like you say, with your sister, you always desired her to be able to choose whatever it is she would like to choose and be okay with that choice.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, if you want to have long-term loving relationships with furniture, I'm fine with that.
It's going to be a little odd. Like
it will be strange. If you...
Sharing a bottle of wine, you're going to be the one drinking all the wine.
Yeah, taking a sofa out to dinner, people might be like, what's the removalist fan for?
So what do you see? Could anything have been different with your sister? Like the theme that I seem to hear though too is like trying to stop suicide. What I would like to create is the place where knowing you have a choice, but also knowing that when you make that choice, it's final. That's it. It's like, like as I was talking with Anthony on the show last week is, people tend to think, oh, great, I'll hit the restart button. It doesn't happen like that. You're an infinite being. And it's like you've got crap in this reality and crap going on in your life now. That's still going to continue in your next life. Like it's not as though that goes away.
Yeah.
So what if you could deal with that here and now on this amazing, beautiful planet? Like what if you're actually willing to be in communion with this planet? And you've got to see where we are right now. It's in Costa Rica.
Oh, it is so alive.
It's tropical. It's alive. Well, there's actually an active volcano right in front of us. I'll take a picture of it later so that we can ping that up there. But it's like that living. It's like, what if you could choose that? And what I would like to ask Chris too is when you did all this research and you found this out, what would you suggest that people can start to have a look at to change what's going on in their headspace to create a different reality?
Well...
Besides bars.
I know.
Highly recommend bars.
See, for me, I was so lucky when my sister chose to commit suicide because I had already been taking classes in access consciousness with Gary Douglas and had the opportunity to ring him straight away.
Right.
And go...
What'd you say?
I said, I don't get this. I don't understand what's going on. I'm so upset. I'm so distraught. This is so weird for me in my universe. And he said, well, here's the choice. You could recognize and honor her choice and let her go. Or she could come back next lifetime and be your lover.
And what did you choose?
I went, oh, okay. Well, thanks, Jen. That was great. I honor your choice. Bye.
Adios. Auf Wiedersehen.
But what's actually really interesting is for those of you who have experienced any of the Access Consciousness classes as well, there's an amazing facilitator and lady by the name of Shannon O'Hara who does classes on talk to the entities. You know, she's the real life I see dead people kind of person. Mm-hmm. And I actually, because I still, after my sister died, it's as you said, yeah, you killed your body, but you're an infinite being. You keep going. You're still around. And I had this really strong sense of her with me.
Right.
And so I contacted this lady, Shannon, and I said, hey, can I book a session with you? I need some clarity on this. Is she talking to me? Does she need something from me? What's going on? And the information that I got from Shannon, and it was clear as a bell when she started getting me to look at some of the places where my sister was trying to talk to me, was that my sister actually wanted to be along for the ride for some of the access classes and some of the consciousness and awareness that I was creating on the planet.
Right.
Which was...
So this was the easiest way that she could do it.
Yeah. Because Shannon, when we were doing the session, she was like, whoa, this is weird. Usually when I tap into somebody like this, especially an anguished soul, quote unquote, like this, it's not a very nice experience. But Shannon was like, wow, your sister's actually in a much easier place now, and it's thanks to you.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah.
So then what can you be for someone, if you've had someone in your life that's committed suicide, what do you see that you can be for them?
You can be an allowance, which brings us back to that vulnerability of receiving and going, okay, if that's your choice, I'm going to honor it.
Yeah.
Not make it wrong or right. And just go.
Because they were making themselves so wrong throughout their life, so what if you didn't make them wrong?
Even in that.
Even in that.
Yeah. And like my sister was never, ever at peace or happy.
Right.
No matter what we tried to do. I mean, in Canada, where I grew up, is a pretty cool place. If you want to have a sex change operation, we'll pay for it.
Regina, Saskatchewan, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where we were from. And so she had so much at her disposal. And I know a lot of people who have people around them commit suicide. You know, they make themselves wrong, or they judge themselves of, oh, I should have, I could have, I would have done this had I known, and made things easier for that person. But I've always known that with my sister, I was always there with her and for her, but it was never her choice to receive it.
Right. Okay. So on the other end, it's like, what if you actually started receiving from the people around you who actually care, and not care in the point of view of you must do this, you must, adhere to what this reality imposes and projects upon you. No, it's like find someone who is in your life who is actually willing to be an allowance for whatever it is you choose.
Yeah. Like I'm so blessed to have a friend like you. You're somebody in my life that I can go, hey, this is like something that I need some help with. And sometimes it's acknowledging a part of yourself that you think you don't like, or you think is wrong, or you think should be changed and different, and be able to have somebody in your life where you can go, hey, I need some help with this because this is where I'm at right now. And what's amazing about you is you never make it real, whatever I'm quote unquote dealing with, but allow me the space to change it if I choose. And not everybody out there does have that luxury. I know that you're an exceptional person in that regard, but who do you actually have in your life, or what do you have that you could reach out to and engage with to open a door to a different possibility?
And I'm going to suggest too, it's like even find that with yourself.
Yeah.
And it's like, what would it take for you to, one of the funny sayings I love that Gary Douglas says is, it's a good thing you're cute because sometimes you're not very bright. So what if you had that joke with yourself as well? If you don't have someone around you, it's like, have a chat to yourself, do whatever it takes, or write stuff down. It's like record something and be like, okay, so I'm choosing insanity today. I'm doing a little crazy, especially if you're female, all females do a little crazy every now and then. And it's like, I'm doing a little crazy. Good thing I'm cute. And it's like, what could I change here? And just even ask that. It's like, if I could change anything today, what would it be? If I could choose anything today, what would it be? And start to have a look at how you'd like to create your life. because this is your life. It's not anybody else's. And if you have people around you that are willing to, be available for you. And as Chris said, it's not buy into your shit as real. It's like, but be willing to be an allowance of it so that the person can change. That's awesome. And what could you be for yourself today? So if you could choose anything today, what would it be? If you could create anything today, what would it be? If you could change anything today, what would it be? What choices could you make? Because you have choice of possibilities.
Yep.
Infinite
absolutely.
Choice. Yeah.
And that's actually really interesting because my husband, his sister also commits suicide.
Oh, yeah. You told me about that.
It's so interesting because my sister Jenny and his sister Penny both commit suicide.
Jenny and Penny.
And both were lesbian or transgendered or something. So we have a feeling actually they're hanging out together now. But, or brought us together or whatever that is. But the choice thing that you bring up is interesting because his family's choices around her suicide is so different. They bear it like a cross. And if there's a big family dinner, they set a place for her at the table. If it was her birthday, we have to get together and have a party. If it was the anniversary of the day she died, like this lady has more parties given to her and for her and meals fed to her than any dead person I've ever met.
Right.
But they use it to lock themselves up. Like I remember saying something to my mother-in-law once and saying, well, don't you want to go travel and don't you want to do this and don't you want to do that? And she said, no, don't you know, I lost a child.
Oh, so she uses that as her story.
It's her story and it's her excuse for not choosing something different and creating a different possibility in her life. And she lost a child 30 years ago.
Wow. So do you think that they're trying to make up for the damage that they've decided they did?
Yeah. And they feel like if they stopped flogging themselves for it and paying penance for it, that it would be dishonoring her memory.
Interesting. And if, like I said, if you haven't listened to the show I did with Anthony Mattis last week, please listen to it too, because that's a road he could have chosen. He could have chosen to go down that road of flogging himself and feeling quote unquote guilty, etc., for everything that occurred, but he didn't. He was honoring of what she chose. They did as much as they possibly could, and she just wanted out.
Yeah.
So she chose that, and then he didn't choose to beat himself up or beat the kids up. He chose to be a greater, better person. So what if you've had someone in your life that has committed suicide and you could choose to be a greater, better person based on that?
Yeah. And I also bring up the story with Andrew's family because they're not wrong either. That is, as you say, in Anthony's case, a path you can take. And if you do choose it, okay.
I gotta say, though, it's like if you, I get a little bit stuck, though, with the place of someone choosing not to live based on someone who's died.
Yeah, but they're not wrong.
No, they're not wrong. And I would like to invite them into a different possibility.
Yeah.
To know that it's because there's so many possibilities available. I get so excited about the possibilities.
But it's just like my sister choosing to kill herself. You have to honor her choice.
Oh, totally.
And go, okay, cool.
Cool. You're right. Yeah.
And so for my mother-in-law, on the anniversary of her daughter's death, I send her flowers every year.
Right.
And no one else in the family does that. And she always goes, thank you. Thank you so much for understanding.
That's true. Yeah. For honoring anyone and what they choose.
Yeah.
No matter what it takes, no matter what it looks like.
Because even if you see another way and another possibility and an easier life, if they don't, you have to honor them in what they can see and choose. Like, I had the most amazing singing teacher in university. In my first life, I was an opera singer. And he was the kindest, sweetest, most gentle man. And in my 4 years studying with him, he would never sing for me. Because he always said, I don't want you to sing like me. I want you to make the choices you're going to make.
Wow.
To have the life that you're going to have and carve out, the future you want with this. And what was so incredible was in my very last year studying with him, he gave a concert. And he could have been the most arrogant asshole on the planet for how talented he was and how amazing and dynamic a performer. He was just so kind and so generous and such a presence on stage while he sang. But he never, ever made anything in his time with me about him.
He was empowering you to be you.
And that's a lesson that I've taken to everything I do. And including with the suicide thing. I know he was a contribution to how I could be receiving my sister's choice.
You know, it's interesting because this morning we went horse riding here in Costa Rica, and a friend of mine rode my horse. And because I went on a new date and rode a different horse who I'm looking at buying. And she was riding my horse, and I said, oh, should I tell her about this, this, and this? Like just idiosyncrasies that he does, but they're definitions. And Gary said, no, you have to have her create her own relationship with this horse.
Yeah.
And I was so close to going, oh, he'll do this. And I went, wow, that's so quick to define what he'll do rather than be in question about how she could be with him and he be with her.
Yeah.
So everywhere that you've gone to definitions and answers of how something should be rather than, and wanting to push people into change, which I wanted to do 5 minutes ago, we destroy and uncreate it. You're not wrong. You've got to be an allowance of yourself as well. We destroy and uncreate it, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds.
Yeah. It's just amazing to look at that because it is in everything in life. You know, if you project that things are going to be a certain way and try and put that on somebody else. Like I remember when I was young and I came out to my mom as gay, her biggest problem with it was that I was going to have such a hard life.
So she's already imposing upon you the hard life you're going to have rather than, I've known you for, I don't know, over 10 years now, I think.
Yeah.
And you've got a great life.
I have a fabulous life.
You've got a great husband.
Yep.
And it's like, and you create so much together. And I love having you with, you know, your husband. Your husband is my personal shopper.
Well, and in all of my mom's kids, I've created the most and continue to.
But she's decided and imposed. So everyone out there who is, you know, coming out, who's chosen to be gay, straight,
whatever,
like lesbian, whatever it is, transgender, and it's like, whatever that is. And it's like, what if you could destroy and uncreate all the imposing points of view upon you, everything that's projected and expected of you, and asked who you be today? What grand and glorious adventures can you be and have today? And everything that is, times a godzillion, right and wrong, good and bad, pock and pot, all names, shorts, boys and beyonds.
Wow, it's so funny because as we talk about this, I'm remembering things from my life with my mom and my sister that I'd totally forgotten because how I came out to my mother was that she had such a problem with my sister being gay that she would always complain about it and always go, oh, when your sister gets over this pretending thing that she has a problem and this point of view that she is a lesbian, and point of view wasn't her words or whatever. And one day I got so fed up with it that I turned around and I said, Mom, you better get over it and get used to it because I'm gay too. And she was stunned and wouldn't talk to me for a few days.
Right.
And then bought me a fabulous pair of shoes and took me for a nice lunch and went, okay. But there was still this problem in her universe with it. But one of the things I recognize too now is what was projected and expected from my sister and from me were so unbelievably different. She never got a nice pair of shoes and a nice lunch. She got years and years of expectation and judgment and projection of what her choices should be in life.
Why do you think that is?
Well, it's the same thing of why young men want to kill themselves because they're not allowed to be themselves and be vulnerable. What are women expected of? You know, like, especially, the stereotype so often is for mothers, if their son's gay, oh, that's fine. They understand.
But a father doesn't like
a son, and a mother doesn't like a daughter. We have these places in life where people, well, we don't. We have a choice to do it. But what so many people do is they have this projection and expectation on themselves and on their kids and on their family of who they should be, how they should be, what they should do, what they shouldn't do.
Rather than actually allowing people choice, inviting them to choice and empowering them to be them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Be You, Change the World. Book written by Dr. Dane here. Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
No matter what you're choosing. Because you know what? You're different. You're not the same as anybody else. And it's like, just because you're choosing male-female relationship doesn't mean you're the same as anyone else. And it's like, just because you're choosing gay doesn't mean you're the same as anyone else.
Oh, yeah. Do you know how many times I've had that projected at me? Oh, hi, gay Chris. I'd like you to meet my friend, gay David. You guys have so much in common. You'll be friends and maybe date. It's like, oh, actually, no.
Which that would be like introducing me to every straight guy. It's like,
Right.
Look, you've got something in common. What?
You have a vagina and he likes vaginas.
Exactly.
You're obviously going to get along.
Hello. Yeah. That's too funny. So what I would like you guys to get out there listening is you have choice. And it's like, and you know, both ways. It's like, if you're out there listening to this and you know, you've been looking at suicide as a choice, because like I said, and we said, it is a choice. There are different options available. There's different possibilities. And I highly recommend you get your bars run. It is one of the most life-changing things I've ever found. And there's thousands of facilitators around the world. We're in, I think, 176 countries now.
Even North Korea.
Even North Korea. So look up accessconsciousness.com and find a bars facilitator near you. It better still even do a class, because then you get to run bars twice, receive them twice, and you can be a practitioner. And it has literally changed so many people's lives. Bars is just incredible. And the access processing as well, because a lot of the times, you know, you pick up things that aren't yours. Like even today, Chris and I were having a chat about something and it was like, oh, who does it belong to? You know, we're at this resort in Costa Rica. There's a bunch of people showing up today. Today's the arrival day. So you start to pick up on all of their thoughts, feelings and emotions, and all the, you know, paranoia proving crap stuff that's going on in their life. They're like coming here going, oh my God, because we're at facilitators. I'm going to choose to be a facilitator. It's costing me all this money and I don't know if I can do it and blah, blah, blah. And you start to pick that up and it's not even yours. So a tool to walk away with, please, is who does this belong to? And if it lightens up, it's not yours. And then you can just say, pock and pot everything that is, you know, or all that stuff that Simone says on her podcast, because it's just energy.
Yep. The other thing I want to add to that too is I actually, before my sister committed suicide, I had a conversation with Gary Douglas, and he pointed out some things that were going on with my sister around entities, which again, might not be for you, but if you're interested and that pings anything in your world, look up Talk to the Entities and Shannon O'Hara, and there may be something in that for you.
Yeah, we actually spoke about Shannon and Talk to the Entities last week, so I'm going to ask her if she'll do a show with me about Talk to the Entities. Yeah, because it is brilliant. Because she actually helped me. I had an ex-boyfriend who committed suicide years and years ago, and when I came along and met her, because I could always perceive him. He was there. He would sit there, and I had a session with her, and it was fantastic. It was fantastic for him too, because he finally
was heard.
Left. He was heard and left, you know, rather than following me around, the only person who seemed to be able to hear him, and me thinking the men in the white coats are going to come take me away. It was just like...
There's this guy talking to me.
Yeah. So it helped me a lot. So please check out accessconsciousness.com. You can find Christopher Hughes on the website as well. And, of course, myself, Access Joy Business. And check out SimoneMilasas.com. MILASAS.com. But please get your bars run. We're doing a huge surge of bars classes in the month of November as well, all over the world, doing a big push-pull for it. So get your bars run. There are different choices available for every single one of you. Thank you for joining me, Mr. Chris.
Thank you, Miss Simona.
Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.